Hey everyone, my name's Gavin. I'm very excited to be here to give my smartphone Symphony talk. Parts of my talk rely on real-time communication between my phone, my laptop, and your laptops. And the Wi-Fi seems to be operating by carrier pigeon here. So perhaps if you could turn off the Wi-Fi on your laptops just for the duration of this talk, it'll give us room for the phones to actually work. And it's just stopped working. Okay. All right. So I work for a company called Intercom in Dublin, Ireland. We also have offices in San Francisco and London. You might recognize us from our messenger, which is in the bottom right-hand corner of lots of great web businesses. It's a React app. It's about 2.5 years old. We also have quite a large Ember app, which is the app that our customers use day in, day out, and it's 4.5 years old. And like most Ember apps that follow the 6-week upgrade release cycle, it's never been healthier in terms of code base. Having had quite a few chats with some of you in the last couple of days, I know that a lot of you work for great companies. I'm proud to say that Intercom is also a great company. And we have a strong ambition to become one of the great technology companies. And like all great companies, we like to share our ideas. These are some books that we publish as an example. Sharing stories helps us attract amazing people to Intercom. Everyone who joins are on their anniversary, their interversary, to get an Intercomic, which kind of celebrates some of the impact and the fun that they've had over the year. These are my 4 Intercomics. They're all Ember themed. The reason I'm telling you this in a little more detail than I normally would is to give you some background for this conference talk. Each year we hold a series of product-focused events across the world where we share our approach to building products that hopefully people love. This picture is from San Francisco, and this is London and Dublin. And in November last year, again in Dublin, in famous Vicar Street, we had a first set of technical talks about our approach to building and iterating products in Intercom. This was a really amazing night. It was more like a Radiohead concert than a typical tech event. And for it, I wanted to come up with something a little different and hopefully fun. I think it's amazing that we get to live in a time where it's possible to build an impactful career where the work rarely feels like work, and I just want to have a little fun with my talk. So this was the first slide of my talk, and it'll be a good intro to the rest of this talk. My slides are an Ember app running on my laptop. I'm also running the same app on my phone, which allows me to control the presentation. I'll soon ask you to open the same web app on your phones too, so you can interact with the presentation. So when I trigger drum sound on my phone, we'll send real-time messages to all connected phones, and these messages are being relayed through a simple Socket.io node server, which is running in Amazon's California data center. So the initial part of my talk that I gave in Dublin went pretty well. This was a high point. I can't believe that actually worked. But then a few seconds later, it actually no longer worked. Let me just check something on the computer. So the server crashed. I had no way to get the presentation running again, so I couldn't complete the second part of my talk then. Not a huge deal. One of the themes of that night was risk-taking. This was a little bit of a risk. After I got home, I realized my mistake. I was missing a guard. There was a race condition and an exception brought down the server. At the time, I hadn't done much Node. I've done a little more now. Hopefully, that is a lesson learned. We'll see. So I got to give my talk a second time earlier in the year in EmberConf in Portland. Happily, all the major parts of the talk worked. There were a few little issues like this. This is meant to be a sorted graph, by the way. sorted. So let's pick someone, first of all, from... Okay, Dr. Les. So you should be able to move that around, great. Let's get a second person. Okay, Dr. Les, okay. Luckily, they were mostly minor UI issues, and the talk broadly worked as I'd hoped. As luck would have it, the third instrument, the orange one at the bottom, was actually controlled by someone in Zimbabwe. There was a live stream, and Lennox happened to be picked randomly, which is pretty special. So before we try to hear, I want to talk a little bit about the software that allows these presentations to be created. Since EmberCom, I've begun extracting the guts of that talk into an Ember add-on called Ember Present, and it allows anyone to create rich, interactive, real-time presentations with Ember components. So Ember New to create an Ember app, Ember Install, Ember Present allows it to become a slideshow, and Ember Generate Slide will generate the root and the components. So presentation slides are defined much like Ember roots, just with slide instead of root. And slide contents are defined in components. So with a little content and style, here's those exact slides. And as presentations can be interactive, they can also define multiple roles. So in this case, there is a presenter role and a screen role. And running locally, this is what that looks like. And here's what this talk that I'm giving right now looks like when running locally. So at the top is the screen. On the very left is my phone, and then 4 phones in the audience. As you can see, it's real time. It's very easy to create like real-time polls and things like that. There's other useful components, so components for doing code with highlighting, video components, and there's real-time controls for playback or setting sections, and I can, by pressing a button, change the video. Not particularly useful. You can do things like change the background color in real time as well. I'm just clicking a button here. Ember Present comes with Tailwind CSS, so it's very easy to spin up and style slides, and this should help with adding themes, which I hope to do soon. Slides scale and keep a 16:9 ratio. And there's also, because it's real time, I can do like a real time pointer, like that. So you see there's 2 people swimming down here. This is an animated slide that I created for another talk that I gave 2 years ago, an animated guide to Ember. And the thing I'm most excited about, and I only recently realized it with Ember Present, is the possibility of publishing presentations as NPM packages and allowing others to import them into their own presentations and reusing them. So I've created a lot of animations like this that have only been seen once, and hopefully they can be useful to other people when going to like local meetups or conferences or whatever. If you saw Chad's talk on compilers this morning and performance, this is a visualization I made of an earlier version of the Glimmer VM. And I'm kind of showing it now because I want it to be seen a second time, because it took me like 2 weeks to make. It's a little out of date now, but it's showing the inner workings of the Glimmer VM as it initially renders a page. So I'm hoping to redo these animations to bring them up to the latest Glimmer version so that other people can use them. Here's another example. This is Alex Machineer giving a great talk on his Ember Concurrency add-on. And his presentation was a custom-built Ember app to demonstrate his add-on. This was a real inspiration to me at the time. I wanted to be able to put Ember into my presentations like his. So with his permission, yesterday I extracted some of his components from his talk into an Ember Present add-on. So here are those slides here. So you can just Ember install that add-on, and you get slides like this. So briefly, Ember Concurrency is add-on for, and an API, declarative API for constraining concurrent tasks. And the core primitive is a task, which accepts a generator function. So in this case, it's just a simple function that waits for 2 seconds. And I can click perform here, and actually you can see a visualization of this running. So by default, they all run concurrently. Ember concurrency isn't doing anything, but we get these task modifiers. So here is the drop modifier, and you can see if I run this, it will, if there's already an instance of a task running, it will drop new tasks until it's clear. Here's another modifier in queue, and you can guess what that does. It queues them up. And probably the most commonly used one is restartable. So it could be used for like debounce search and things like that. As a final example, in EmberConf this year, Edward Faulkner introduced his new add-on Ember Animation, or Ember Animated.
Moving, and we could bring a whole lot of sprites in, and we could have them going in and out at the same time. Even the ones coming in will steer themselves over time to adapt to the other ones coming in around them, right?
So like with Ember Concurrency, I created a few slides to demonstrate this as well. So I have a left and right button here, and if I click left, you'll see one of the logos randomly will move from the list on the right to the left. If I hit it a few times, left and right, they kind of do a dance, which is cool. The amazing thing about Ember Animated is that all I'm doing here is defining where the list should be rendered, and then removing an item and inserting it into the other array in a random location. And the natural movement emerges from the sprites which are coordinating behind the scenes. And these animations can also happen across routes here, as we saw there. So Ember Animated is a core primitive within Ember Present. So soon it'll be easy to have nice animations between slides. All right, so live demo time. It's 2018. It's like this will maybe work. I don't know. If you'd like to participate, please take out your phone and load this web address, bit.ly/JSC18. When it loads, you can enter your name, just click next. If your name is taken, just put in a random name. We'll be triggering sounds in your phone, so please turn up the volume, and you can press the buttons to test the sound locally. If you've got an iPhone, you may need to flip the mute switch in the top left. You can see in the top right, there's a count of the number of people connected. I don't know, there's maybe 200 people in the room, so I guess we'll wait till it stops going up. This demo will work best if your phone doesn't go to sleep, so every now and again you'll get a little reminder just to touch the screen to keep it awake. If it's not working for you for some reason, perhaps you could record some of this for Twitter, presuming it works. All right, so this is a simple example of triggering real-time drums on your phones. Every time I press a button, it'll send real-time messages to your phone to play a particular sound. All right, and notice that the drum sounds aren't all playing at the same time. We're all connected, or we're connected to a range of different networks or mobile networks, and even if we're on the same network, there's a range of different latencies, even on a single phone from one request to the next. And this will be even clearer if I trigger a drum beat to play, and this will probably sound pretty bad. Yeah. We can visualize the different latencies on your phones by running some tests. So if you can click the test latency button on your phone, it'll do a series of request responses with the real-time server. And you likely see some variants in your own device. Hey, the graph is sorted. All right, so what's this saying? Most people are under 100 milliseconds, which bodes pretty well, I think, for the rest of the talk. So one approach to dealing with latency is to get a shared understanding of what time it is on all the phones. And if we can do that, we can schedule sounds to play at a particular time. So phones generally keep the same time, but there's still enough of a difference across phones that it wouldn't work for a drum machine. What we can do, though, is ping the server and measure how long it takes. So let's assume 20 milliseconds in total. And we can assume that a request hop takes about half the time, so 10 milliseconds. And if the server includes its time in the response, and we add the 10 milliseconds to that, the phone now has a pretty good understanding of what time it is compared to the server. So this is the strategy we took when we ran those latency tests in your phone. This graph is showing the difference in time across phones. So phones on the left are behind the server time. Phones on the right are ahead of it. Pretty amazing that everyone's almost on the same time. So let's see if it works. Let's see if it's any better. So I'll trigger some sounds to play, but in 1 second's time. That seems better. Let's try the drum machine. All right. Oh, thanks. So actually, when I've done that before, this hasn't worked. Like, that's not meant to work as well. Let me try just the iPhones. All right, that's pretty good. And the Androids? Oh, sorry. And the Androids? Well, that's the best Android has ever done. I mean, I love Android, but their latency, see. I don't think it's a real word, but if it was, I think this is kind of an audialization of Android fragmentation. Just like on iOS, the operating system receives, or the JavaScript function to execute the sound is received and queued up at the right time. It's just that there's a range of different onboard latencies when it comes to sound on Androids. One of the reasons why different lag times are so noticeable is that drum sounds have got a really sharp attack time, meaning all the sound kind of happens at once. If we take a sound that's got a more gradual attack, like orchestral sounds, it allows us some leeway with the latency. So I've put together 12 different orchestral sounds from a section of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, which I'll randomly assign to different devices now. All right, so this is about 40 seconds. Here we go. It worked. All right, now we have the phone synced up. Let's bring in the house speakers. So if you could choose which section of the room you're in, so left, middle, or right, if you'd like to participate. So I'm going to randomly assign some MIDI devices which are running on my machine. So this is a piece of software called Ableton Live, which is a digital audio workstation which is predominantly used for generating and performing electronic music. And I've created a short track for this talk and others using 4 synthesizers, which you can see here. If I just play some, you'll hear what they sound like. No. Are you getting audio? try something here. You can hear that. Okay. Okay. Audio is working. Okay. So the black area on the right is also running the same Ember app, just in a different role. And I'm also running a local node server, which is subscribed to real-time events, and it translates these events into MIDI signals, which are sent to Ableton Live. So I've arranged it so 4 people in the audience can control different parts of these synthesizers. So I'm going to select someone at random. All right. BTHE Sorcerer. Could you move the... like that, yeah. Cool. So I'm going to solo your instrument and enable a chorus and press play. Okay, so you should, as you move around, you'll be able to see you're altering the characteristic of the sound. And you can explore the 4 corners. It's like it'll make the sound different. The yellow box on the screen is where I put the parameter when I was recording it, but you can put it anywhere you want. Music is expression. So let's pick someone else for pad 2. Okay, JP. So let's try your one. Okay, it's a similar synth, but it's got different characteristics. And, one is hard pan left, one is hard pan right. Okay, cool. Let's try the 3rd instrument. Okay, Dan, here we go. Okay, Dan, your instrument will come in after like 10 or 12 seconds. You'll see it on the screen. So let's pick a 4th instrument. Okay. Let me try. Okay, hang on. That could just be random luck. Yeah, it was. Okay, Benham, your instrument number 3. Dan, you're promoted to number 4. Okay, so let's see. Go back, re-enable audio. Just click some buttons here. Go to intro. All right, let's do it. It sounded better when I recorded it, but okay. Congratulations. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for that. So that's all I have. Thanks very much.